The honourable member for Edmonton Strathcona.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I think if you seek it, you will find unanimous consent for the following motion. Given that there is clear and ample evidence of systematic and massive war crimes and crimes against humanity being committed against the people of Ukraine by the armed forces of the Russian Federation, directed by President Vladimir Putin and others within the Russian parliament, and B, the crimes committed by the armed forces of the Russian Federation include mass atrocities in the invaded and occupied Ukrainian territories, systematic instances of willful killing of Ukrainian civilians and the desecration of corpses, forcible transfer of Ukrainian children to the Russian territory, torture and the imposition of life conditions causing grave suffering, widespread instances of physical harm, mental harm, and rape. The House recognize that the Russian Federation is committing acts of genocide against the Ukrainian people.
All those opposed to the honourable member moving the motion will please say nay. Agreed. The House heard the terms of the motion. All those opposed to the motion will please say nay. Motion is carried.
So your general reaction to your motion being carried today?
You know, today I was able to table a motion calling what is happening in Ukraine by the Russian Federation a genocide against the Ukrainian people, and I was very pleased to see that passed, that it passed with unanimous support of the House of Commons. Now, I will say that it is a first step. Declaring a genocide was something that we wanted to do as a way to urge the government to take more action, to do more for Ukraine. It is not enough to simply declare something to be a genocide. It also requires action, and there is much more that Canada can do.
So what are the next steps you expect?
So what I would like to see the government do, first of all, is take better steps with regards to our sanctions. You know, some of the things that we have seen recently is that the sanctions have been implemented too slowly. They've been implemented very, very late. They've been given an opportunity for Russian oligarchs to hide their wealth, so they've not been appropriate. We need to fund the ICC, the International Criminal Court, and do more to ensure that the International Criminal Court has the tools and the resources necessary to investigate and hold those accountable for this genocide to account. You know, we need to make sure that we are doing what we can to protect the people in Ukraine right now, providing humanitarian assistance in the short term, the medium, and the long term. It is going to take a very long time to build Ukraine back after this conflict. Canada needs to confirm that it is there for the long term, that it is there for the long run.
With this intention expressed by the government to use the money seized from oligarchs to actually finance the help to Ukraine, do you think it's going enough rapidly? So we know now that they want to go ahead with that, as in the budget legislation, but is it going fast enough for you?
Well, no, we have proof that it didn't. You know, we've seen oligarchs that have sold, you know, one of the oligarchs sold their shares in $120 million and were able to divest $120 million weeks before the federal government actually imposed a sanction. You know, the sanctions weren't imposed on this individual until the 18th of April. It's too late. He's already found ways he's already found loopholes. So it's already a problem. They've already been too slow. And they've been dragging their feet on almost every instance of support for Ukrainians, whether it's Ukrainians fleeing violence coming to Canada through the immigration channels, whether it's support for humanitarian and defense channels within Ukraine, whether it's giving the tools to Ukrainians that they need to defend themselves.
Last week, the Prime Minister said that it's absolutely right that more and more people should be talking about using the word genocide. In terms of Russia, Defense Minister Anita Anand, you said there's a strong argument. So what does your motion today do when you're talking about steps forward to recognizing this? What does it do?
Well, frankly, it urges the government. You know, one of the things that we see with this government is they're very good at saying, well, you know, it seems like it might be, you know, it smells like a, you know, whatever, but there's no action taken. So today what they did is that they had to stand in the House and say that, yes, this is a genocide. They will take action. They no longer have the ability to hide behind that rhetoric of maybe, maybe not, we're not sure, looks like it. that kind of thing. You know, there was attempts to water down this motion going forward, and I said no. This is a clear genocide, and we need to call it out as such.
So do you want to see Bob Ray, for example, now go in front of the United Nations and have that open? I believe
Absolutely.
there's already like an investigation going on, right, at the IC. Like, what's the next step here, I guess, maybe the more simple question.
Yeah, so what I would like to say is that, of course, every step that can be taken through the International Criminal Court, every step that can be taken through the United Nations is important that we take. Canada can work with our allies. We can work with people around the world. We've already seen other countries declare this genocide. From my perspective as a parliamentarian in the House of Commons, this is a tool to urge our government to do more. This is a tool to say that the conflict in Ukraine is not over, that the support we've been providing has not been enough, and we need to do more for the people of Ukraine.
Last question.
No problem. So the sanctions, how can I put this? Yesterday they talked about having, as part of the budget, ways and means that they're going to try and find ways to seize assets from sanctioned Russians and then, basically use the proceeds to help Ukrainians in some way. Mm-hmm. But it's, again, sort of wrapped up in the budget. I'm just wondering if, I've asked why it's been wrapped up in the budget. It seems to be the fastest and most efficient way. That's the line I keep getting. I'm not sure, like, do you see it that way? I mean, I'm wondering if the NDP, first off, support that particular action to try and seize assets from Russians who are on the sanction list and help Ukrainians in some with the proceeds? And do you think that the fastest way to do that is through, the budget, the BIA?
So first of all, I 100% support the idea of using those assets to support Ukrainians. What we have seen in Ukraine, the damage, the destruction that's happened to Ukraine, the illegal war, the genocide that has happened in Ukraine means that I am 100% supportive of that. Now, what we are concerned about is what we saw in the budget, and of course it's very new and I haven't had a lot of time to actually break it down, but what we saw in the budget makes me concerned that there is less transparency for parliamentarians on how these assets will be seized. That's a concern I have, because we've already seen this government fail at implementing the sanctions as quickly and as effectively as they could. So having it now be less transparent for parliamentarians is a problem for me. So I'm going to be keeping my eye on that for sure.
There were attempts to tamper the motion. What do you mean by that? There were attempts to
not have it be so explicitly say genocide. And I think that that's what this motion was all about. That's what this motion needed to say. We don't need to hear more leaders saying, looks like, maybe it is, seems to be. We need people to say this is a genocide and it needs to stop, and the international community has an obligation to act as it is a genocide. You know, the response needs to be the same.
coming from where we're
Oh,
coming now.
thank you.
She's got to get to the vote. So, okay.